Let's just dive right into this one because today's explainer is an absolute masterclass in suspense. We're breaking down a brilliant thriller called The Walker of the Red Dust. We're going to look at exactly how this story builds such incredible tension, not by relying on cheap jump scares, but by taking a classic, gritty, missing persons investigation and slamming it headfirst into ancient supernatural lore. It's a wild ride, so let's get into it.
So think about the ultimate locked room mystery. Now imagine that room isn't a room at all, but the vast, endless, unforgiving expanse of the Australian Outback. The Pilbara region here isn't just a setting, it's literally a character in itself. It's ancient, it's vast, and it's completely merciless. When 3 different men vanish into this landscape without a single trace, you're instantly hooked, right? How does a person just disappear into the dirt?
Section 1. Mystery in the Pilbara. The Cold Case of Ironbark Station. Our main guy, podcaster Alex Thompson, arrives at the remote Ironbark Station, chasing an anonymous tip about a local legend. And right away, he uncovers this deeply disturbing case file. We're talking about 3 men, totally swallowed by the red dust over an 18-month period. Just look at the evidence, or really the lack of it. Miner number 1, footprints near some old mine shafts that lead absolutely nowhere, just stop dead. Miner number 2's ute is found half buried in a gully. The keys are still in the ignition and the petrol tank is full. So he didn't run out of gas, he just walked away. And then the 3rd guy, a young kid from Perth, vanishes from the wide-open plains. 0 tracks, no signs of a struggle. It completely defies logic and immediately sets this incredibly heavy atmosphere of dread.
Section 2. Evidence of the Walker. Examining the supernatural suspect.
To figure out how these men vanished, we have to look past the physical clues and seriously analyze our prime suspect, a supernatural entity the locals only call the Walker. This setup brilliantly illustrates the central clash of our thriller. In one corner, you've got the cynical local cop, Sergeant Mick O'Reilly. He's blaming the harsh environment, literally the heat and the grog. It's your standard, rational Western law enforcement take. But in the other corner, you have the Aboriginal locals, Sarah and Elder Uncle Jimmy. They know the ancient lore, and their reality is that the land needs balancing. They're thinking the Walker could be a min-min light gone terribly wrong, or maybe a furious prospector spirit. This clash forces us, and Alex, to really question what's actually real.
Now the suspense ramps up so fast when we map out Alex's encounters. Look at how this is structured. Day 1, 11:45 p.m. He sees a figure on the horizon. Dust is swirling all around it, but here's the kicker. There is absolutely 0 wind. Day 2, right at the stroke of midnight. His trail cam captures a figure with hollow, ancient eyes, just a split second before the camera is violently smashed. And by day 3, we are at a direct midnight confrontation at a sacred site. Mapping it out like this proves one terrifying thing. Whatever this entity is, it's not just some passive ghost hanging around, it is actively hunting him.
But wait, how do we explain the physical evidence? Because this phantom is leaving deep, size 12 boot prints in the soft red soil. As Sarah points out, the entity walks light for a big fella, but those tracks are undeniably there, and there are absolutely no vehicle tracks anywhere near them. And honestly, the most terrifying detail? That smashed trail camera. The entity destroyed the device, sure, but it deliberately left the SD card completely intact for Alex to find. Think about that. It wanted to be seen. It wanted Alex to know without a doubt that it was watching him. Section 3. Uncovering the ancient debt. The motive of the land. Okay, so to solve this, we have to pivot our analysis from the how to the why. We need to uncover the dark motive actually fueling these attacks. Inside that half-buried ute with the full petrol tank, Alex finds a notebook. Inside are these frantic, terrifying scribbles. He walks at midnight, followed me for 3 nights, says the debt must be paid. This clue right here, it changes the whole game. It takes the story from a straightforward monster hunt and turns it into a psychological thriller about consequence, introducing this incredibly sinister new concept, the debt.
So, what does this debt actually mean? Well, it all comes down to balance. The explainer lays out that in Aboriginal lore, balance is the necessary restoration of harmony to the land after it's seen disrespect, greed, or spilled blood. Sarah is very explicit with Alex about this. This is fundamentally different from our Western concept of revenge. The walker isn't out there acting on petty spite. He is an enforcer of balance. And we find out this force was awakened back in the 1960s, right when a mining crew recklessly blasted their way through a sacred site.
Elder Uncle Jimmy hits the nail on the head and captures the entire thematic heart of this thriller with one line. He says, "You white fellas keep digging, keep taking. He's the reminder." That right there is the core conflict of the whole narrative. You have the relentless, unstoppable greed of modern industry slamming right up against an ancient, unforgiving land that simply demands respect.
Things go from bad to worse during a midnight stakeout, turning the investigation into a full-blown nightmare survival scenario. They track the walker into this super narrow gorge. There, they find ancient rock art, but right alongside it are fresh, blood-red ochre handprints. And then, bam! A blinding dust storm whips up out of absolutely nowhere. You can't see a thing. When the dust finally settles, Sergeant Mick is just gone, vanished. The only thing left behind is his police hat, sitting perfectly neat on a rock. Talk about raising the stakes to the absolute maximum.
And then, out of nowhere, the walker actually speaks. Let me tell you, having this supernatural entity communicate is a genuinely chilling midpoint turn. With this low, rasping, totally unearthly voice, it says to Alex, "You come for answers, Thompson, but some answers swallow men whole." It's such a brilliant device for a thriller, right? Because at that exact second, the investigator officially goes from being the hunter to being the prey.
Section 4. Restoring the balance. The final confrontation.
As we hit the climax of this creepy, blackwater open-pit mine, Uncle Jimmy drops a massive twist on us. The walker specifically targets people carrying deep, heavy shame. Suddenly, everything makes sense. Alex, our podcaster, he's been carrying hidden guilt over his brother's fatal rock climbing accident. But the real bombshell is Sergeant Mick. Turns out, he covered up a fatal mine accident years ago that killed 3 local boys, all just to protect the mining company. And the walker himself? He's revealed to be a murdered prospector from the 1800s whose spirit literally fused with the angered ancestral forces of the land. He is the ultimate terrifying judge of their darkest secrets.
So they are standing at the edge of this dark, starlit water in the open-cut mine. And the walker issues his final, chilling ultimatum. He tells Alex and Sarah, "The land gave you everything. You gave nothing back. Now pay the price." The tension here is just off the charts, mostly because we already know that physical weapons, like Mick's pistol from earlier in the story, are completely useless against this thing.
And this is where the explainer highlights something I absolutely love about this story. It doesn't end with a massive shootout or a bunch of explosives. It resolves through deep cultural respect. The walker demands the truth sung on the wind. No more lies, no more taking without asking. So Sarah bravely steps up and begins to sing an ancient song in her native language. And through that pure act of cultural reverence, the dust actually calms down. Sergeant Mick reappears, completely dazed from a vision of his own guilt, and agrees to publicly confess to his cover-up. The balance is restored, and the walker just dissolves into swirling red ochre right as the sun comes up.
As Alex is finally driving away, his final broadcast perfectly sums up the horrifying lesson of their whole investigation. He says, "Out here, the stories aren't just stories, they're warnings. We came looking for a monster and found a mirror. The land sees everything. It remembers. They went in chasing a ghost, only to realize the true monster wasn't the spirit in the dust. It was the unchecked greed and the hidden guilt inside themselves."
And that brings us to the ultimate haunting question this explainer leaves us chewing on. If the land demands balance, and if the walker specifically targets those carrying heavy shame and hidden debts, well, if you were standing all alone out on those red plains at midnight, what would the land see in you? Thanks for digging into this amazing thriller with me today. Keep asking the tough questions, keep looking for the truth hidden in the dust, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.